All right, folks, I think it's time we have a serious conversation about this insane UFC fight that Donald Trump is planning to have in front of the White House, because the head of the UFC, Dana White, who is a close friend and ally of Donald Trump's, is saying that this fight has nothing to do with politics. It's just a gift to the United States of America. But we all know that this is just the most blatant attempt at sports washing, the crazy that's happening in Donald Trump's administration, and we have to dive in to this bizarre story. Before I hit play on the video, do me a favor, make sure that you're subscribed, make sure that you engage with the video, and help us expose MAGA grifters just like these guys.
We're paying the entire bill on all of this. Everything that you're seeing, not $1 of taxpayer money will go into this. I think one of the myths that I would like to crush is, I don't care if you're far right, far left, right down the middle, wherever you sit politically, because everybody sits somewhere politically these days. This isn't about politics. This is about the United States, what this country is about, how it was built, where we all came from. If you love America, you're going to love this event. It has nothing to do with politics. We just happen to be in the White House lawn, and the President of the United States will be there.
Yeah, we just so happen to be throwing a UFC fight in Donald Trump's front lawn in front of the White House on his birthday, no less, which is absolutely insane. And hey, it's not political, guys. We're just celebrating good old-fashioned American patriotism at a time when the federal government is murdering people in our streets, at a time when the federal government is waging an illegal war in Iran that's driving prices up for all Americans, at a time when the average American can't afford to pay their bills. Hey, but we're not paying for any of it with taxpayer funds, something that, frankly, I don't believe in the slightest. There is absolutely a grift and corruption behind this, just like everything else that Donald Trump and his administration does. And it is laughable to suggest that putting a UFC fight in the front lawn of the White House is not political. Please. This is obvious sports washing. It's no different than the other day when Dana White walked Donald Trump down to the ring for a UFC fight at a time when Trump's popularity is plummeting, to try to make him seem cool. And hell, he got a tepid response from the crowd. And let me tell you something, if you're Donald Trump and you're not getting a roaring standing ovation from a UFC crowd, which is probably the most conservative coded crowd that you will get, then you've got a real problem. He was booed last summer at SummerSlam. This is just insane to me that these guys think we're so stupid that we will accept that this is just out of the goodness of their hearts. No, it's not. Dana White thought it would be cool as shit to have people beat the crap out of each other in front of the White House. They thought it would be cool as shit for Donald Trump to be able to look like a king and have a gladiator-style match in front of the White House. It's a disgusting use of our government. It's a disgusting use of a landmark in the White House. It's maybe not the most disgusting use of the White House as an historical landmark, but it's an insult to the vast majority of Americans, and I'm sick of this shit and this grift. Before I play this video, one other thing I want to add too is that the UFC never has fights on Sundays. Never. Okay, that is a day for football. It's a day for baseball. They usually stay far away from it. They do it Fridays. They do it Saturdays. But this time they're doing it on Sunday. Why? Because it's Donald Trump's birthday. They made an intentional decision to plan a UFC fight in front of the White House on Trump's birthday and have the audacity to tell you that it's not political. They have the audacity to tell you that it's out of the goodness of their hearts. Like, come on. Here's Dana White walking Donald Trump to the ring for the fight this weekend. I mean, and look, you might be hearing that and going, wow, a rousing applause. But if you've watched the other times that Donald Trump has shown up at UFC fights, it is way louder, way louder. Like, this is a much more tepid response than Donald Trump has ever gotten at one of these events. And I'll also like to remind people that this is streaming on Paramount Plus. And Paramount Plus was recently purchased by Donald Trump's political allies so that they could own CBS News, so that they could abuse their power once again to manipulate people. So what you see here is a consolidation of power and money and influence and access to the American people that is all designed to make it harder for you to find the truth, to make it harder for you to ever hear anything negative about the President of the United States, because he wants to be a king. If it were up to him, there would be state media that would shovel propaganda straight into your gullet and you would just have to accept it like Kim Jong-un. Like, that's what it would have to be. That's what Donald Trump wants it to be. He's talked about it before. He talks about, I love the way that the people of North Korea treat Kim Jong-un. I wish people in America treated me like that. I love the way that people treat Vladimir Putin. Yeah, of course he does, because he's a vain, shallow man who only cares about himself. And so he shows up at these events, which to me is an insult to the American people. Because what should Donald Trump have been doing instead? Maybe he could have been helping his vice president negotiate an end to the war in Iran. Because while he was there and Marco Rubio was there and a bunch of other jackasses in his entourage were there, JD Vance was in Pakistan fucking up the negotiations to end this war. It was an absolute disaster. And the president of the United States is more focused on circus. He's more focused on distraction. Okay? This is a failed leader. Could you imagine what would happen if Joe Biden showed up at a UFC event in the middle of a crisis, in the middle of negotiating an end to the Ukraine war, in the middle of trying to rally the West around Russia's invasion of Ukraine? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine people who just don't give a shit? Donald Trump just doesn't give a shit about you and doesn't understand how these moments when he pops up at sporting events, often where he gets booed, it's why he stopped going to a lot of them, didn't show up to the Super Bowl this year. He claimed it was because of Bad Bunny, but we all know it's because he would have gotten booed to high hell. But this is a man who doesn't care. All he wants to do is put money in his pocket. All he wants to do is rub elbows with his rich, fancy friends in the Epstein class, make sure that they get their tax cuts, wants to make sure that Dana White gets whatever the hell he needs, because you can guarantee, yeah, maybe they're not using taxpayer dollars to put on the fight in front of the White House. But are you going to tell me that Dana White isn't getting something out of that? He's a smart, savvy businessman. He knows exactly what he's doing by building this relationship with Donald Trump. He knows exactly what he is doing by making Trump feel good and strong and popular and giving him the gladiator-style show he wants for his birthday. He knows what he's doing, and he's getting exactly what he wants out of it. That man does nothing out of the goodness of his heart. I also want to show you this video where Dana White says that you know he's not political because of the speeches that he's given at the Republican National Convention. You might be wondering, has he spoken at the Democratic National Convention? The answer would be no.
And obviously politics is very polarizing. Was there ever hesitancy or consideration of perhaps having an event at the White House and maybe a certain part of the fan base that is not lenient to those politics or the administration?
Yeah, I don't think like that. It's not like I'm out here saying. Even if you look at any of my speeches at the Republican convention, they're never political. I'm never talking about one side or the other side. This guy is a very good friend of mine, and that's it.
Thank you.
And he's a big fan of the sport.
Yeah, so listen, the idea that giving a speech at the Republican National Convention for Donald Trump isn't political is frankly fucking insane. I can't believe that these people in this class really think that we're that stupid that we're going to believe stuff like that. And what does it say? What does it say about Dana White that he considers Donald Trump his friend? Because we've seen who Donald Trump's other friends are. Jeffrey Epstein, for example, his best friend, the man he partied with in the 90s and the early 2000s, the man who he continues to cover up the abuse of little girls and little boys on Epstein's island and at his ranch. We've seen what Donald Trump does with his friends. We've seen what Donald Trump does for his friends. And the idea that this isn't just some self-serving bullshit and another grift and opportunity to make money is just absurd to me. And look, I'm not much of a UFC fan, all right? If I'm being honest with you, I've seen a couple of fights. It's not my thing. I actually prefer pro wrestling, and I'll be watching WrestleMania this weekend. I'm hoping that Obafemi beats the hell out of Brock Lesnar for the opening match. I really do. I like that stuff. Okay, I think it's fun, the pageantry of it. But when I watch pro wrestling, they shove politics down your throat, okay? At SummerSlam last year, they put Donald Trump up on the Titantron, and he got booed to high hell. And it's just, I'm tired of these people using their positions to shove this shit down your throat, to sane wash and sport wash Donald Trump, to make him seem like this cool guy who's just really into sports. He's just like you. Hey, all Donald Trump wants to do on a Saturday night is crack open a beer and watch the UFC fight. It's bullshit. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about the UFC. He doesn't know anything about football. He doesn't know anything about baseball. He doesn't know anything other than grift and how to steal from people. That's all that he cares about. He just cares about putting money in his back pocket and where his next Big Mac is coming from. That's all this guy cares about. And he's just got all these sycophants around him who are getting exactly what they want from this president. Okay? Tax breaks, favors, no prosecutions, pardons, whatever it might be. They're getting everything that they want, including Dana White, okay? And I have respect for Dana White because he turned the UFC around. He's built it into a massive business. There's something impressive about that. But this just sort of bad faith idea that he's not political, that he's not pushing the Republican Party's agenda and trying to help his pal Donald Trump out at a time when his approval rating is 32% is absurd. And we should call this shit out for what it is, because I'm tired of these grifters who are just absolute leeches on American society and are dragging this country to the bottom. So I say shame on you, Dana White, and I will not be watching the dumb, idiotic, immoral fight that's going to be happening in front of the White House on Donald Trump's birthday. It's a disgusting abuse of our government. It's absolutely disgusting. And if you're with me, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you engage with this video so more people get a chance to see it. And then please hit that little bell icon so you get an update the next time I post a video. Thank you.